All right, so again, just going back to the current slide, since I had to start a new recording. We decided that we cannot take the natural log or the log of negative numbers, and we cannot take the log or the natural log of 0. So we start at the natural log of 1, which is 0, and continue with the positive values. Once we plotted those points, now the question is asking graph and find the domain of the following functions. Again, we also mentioned that the x-axis is the domain part. So if you realize it doesn't go past the negative part of the x-axis, which makes sense with your table, and it also doesn't go exactly to 0. It gets as close as it can to it, but it doesn't touch it. So here, our domain is anything that is greater than or equal to 1, right? Because at 1, that's when we start getting values. So where x is greater than or equal to 1, or also if we want to restate it in a different way, our domain is x is greater than 0. That is the same thing as x is greater than or equal to 1. So our domain for the natural log of x is that x is greater than 0. Or if we were writing it in parentheses and bracket notation, we would have parentheses 0, comma, positive infinity, and close it with a parentheses because both of those are non-inclusive. Okay, let's continue with the next part or the next slide. And really, it's nothing new. What we're going to do is refresh ourselves. We have graphed y equals 2 to the x before, and that was on the first day, on Monday, and we got these following values here. Now, I'm going to actually show you the graph of log of x base 2, which is this one right here. Again, remember that a log function always goes through the 1 because the log of 1 is 0, and it's going to extend downwards close to 0, or in other words, close to touching the y-axis, but it never actually touches it. Now, if you think about it and if you remember, this is the one thing that I want you to remember. A function that is reflected about the line y equals x, and it has symmetry about that, that means that it is the inverse. Now, do you remember we went over that a couple of months ago when we were studying inverses? That if you were to take this graph here, and if you were to reflect it about this line, in other words, if you were to flip it, it would place itself right on this equation right here. When that happens, when it has symmetry about the line y equals x, that means that they are inverses of one another. So that's one thing I want you to remember, that the graph of y equals log of x base 2 is indeed the inverse of y equals 2 to the x. Now, at this point, I am done with the lesson for today. I only have one more slide to do with you, and I will do that on tomorrow. At this point, what I want you to do is now you should be able to do at least all of your homework. Except for the graphing one. You may be a little bit confused with the one that has the graph and it has the log function, but everything else is really up for grabs. You are ready to finish most of that one. Again, you can work by yourself or you can work with a partner. This is not any time for you to be sleeping or for you to be doing anything else but your homework. You have plenty of time. The first video was 15 minutes, the second video was 15 minutes, and this video may have been probably 10 minutes if not less. So obviously if I did my math correct, that means that you have plenty of time to be doing something useful. So make sure that you are doing that. No sleeping, no eating, no being on your cell phone, because apparently y'all like to leave trash, and that's becoming an issue. So again, use your time wisely, because I could ask for somebody to present a homework question, and I'm not going to ask. I'm actually probably going to pick someone on tomorrow, and if that someone does not have that homework question answered, if I do answer that one, then you're in deep trouble. So make sure that you work on something useful and do your homework. Again, I will be back today after school. I will be back by 6th period. If you need me, I will be here after school. If you need to work on your robot, I will be here after school. Again, please behave. And also, Mike and Holden, make sure that you turn off the projectors after each class period. So Mike after 3rd period and Holden after 5th period. Okay, thank you.